What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Long Haul Fitness Podcast. Today, I've got Olivia Rothenberg, goes by Liv, IFBB Pro, and a good friend of mine. She is the other half of Brad that I had on the last episode. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a long time.
I know.
Even longer since I've talked to you than it has been Brad.
I know. Crazy.
How
long have you been out there?
August will be a year.
So,
yeah, a lot has happened in a year, that's for sure. And a lot is still happening, but how are things back there?
Be a dad.
Yeah, that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
kind of crazy news, but I'm excited about it. How are things
Awesome.
How are things in old Greensboro?
Old Greensboro.
Boring as always.
Yeah, I mean Corona kind of screws everything up, but
yeah. Well, at least you guys have Kajaks now. At least that's back open.
Yeah, Strive actually just reopened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know how or how long they'll be able to stay open, but they're open as of now.
Yeah, apparently when I went to work today, one of my coworkers said that there's talks in Houston of shutting down again, which
I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, because if they shut down in Houston, then we're gonna follow suit. So I'm fingers fucking crossed that shit doesn't happen again. But
Yeah, I can't imagine like being reestablished in the gym and then just boom.
I mean, I'm just starting to get clients back and stuff, and it would just be a nightmare. But fingers crossed that shit doesn't happen again. I don't think it would do us any good to do that. But So the reason that I wanted you and Brad to come on is like for a couple reasons. I've watched both of you actually come up together through this. Like I met you guys like 3-ish years ago when you first got to Greensboro or first started going to Strive and things like that. And it's been really cool to watch both of you change together because y'all have been dating the whole time I've known you. And that was one thing I really praised Brad about is how quickly he's been able to transform from like just this small teenage kid who had this big guy mentality like I had when I was coming up to like being 255, 260 pounds, being one of the strongest dudes I know. Like it's been really cool to see that transition. And the same with you. Like, I mean, obviously you're not 260. It'd be a little weird if you were that big, but like the transformation that you have made in that same amount of time, going from like just figuring out this thing to now you're an IFBB pro is like crazy.
It's mind blowing to me too. I mean,
I'm sure.
Thinking back, Bradley, I mean, his progress like amazes me. Like I still look at him every day and I'm just like,
right.
I feel honored to have been through the entire thing. Like, cause I saw him as this like little frat guy who was lean and had abs, you know what I mean? Now, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, y'all like, it just goes to show like, what work ethic can do and like how much you put into something. Because y'all have changed dramatically in a short period of time. Like even in the last year or so, once you turned pro, like seeing your physique come together has been really cool. And like your physique flows so like perfectly that it's like almost hard to not look at when you're on stage. So I understand why the judges were so immediately drawn to you and why you flew through those ranks. Like you have an amazing physique and then you work hard on top of that. So those two things in combination, it's hard to beat that,
I'm doing my best.
So did you kind of learn like how to train and all that stuff through Brad, or did you have other people along the way?
Really, like, yeah, I owe everything to Brad. And even when I got my pro card, like on my interview afterwards, it was like, who do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I owe him everything. I really do. Because when I met him, as ridiculous as this sounds, like I was like just 18 years old, college girl. I didn't eat carbs, but I was eating a bagel. So, I was like, I've always been active. I always have been, but I never put anything together, and I really didn't. He owns Arnold's textbook. Like he has just like his knowledge is unreal, and I just feed off of it. He's taught me everything that I know, and we're both still learning so much, but I do owe a lot to him.
That's cool. That's really cool. And the fact that, like, typically in the bodybuilding space, relationships don't tend to last, like, so it's a big testament to you guys as well that you can make this work together, and feed off of each other. So it's really cool that you do say that, and that he has been that big of an influence on you. Because, like, we see that shit all the time. People get super into each other, they compete and stuff together, and the next thing they break up. Like,
yeah, you see it very often.
Yeah, and every couple has their issues along the way, but the fact that y'all have been able to, like, push each other to the next limit, and that's what, like, I see a real couple being, is like y'all are pushing each other to a level where you wouldn't otherwise by yourself,
Absolutely, yeah. We like feed off each other, our positive and negatives.
Right, for sure. So one reason I wanted to bring you on here and really talk to you about, like, your bodybuilding stuff is really your training, to be honest. And same reason I brought Brad on. I have my kinesiology degree. I know the big words, but the big words don't come out right, and they don't really click very fast in my head. So I use the dumb words. So
I'm here for it.
Right. So I'll read through Brad's post and I'll understand it, but there's no way I can now type that and explain that way. So watching the two of y'all, like, basically just kick your own ass in the gym every day has been really cool. And I just click with that. And the fact that you are stronger than most guys that I know is, like, ridiculous. That right there, anytime I see you do something, it's just, like, completely mind blowing, because you weigh how much?
Right now, I'm like 150.
Right, but most of these
I fluctuate. But my strength pretty much stays the same. When I was down to I competed last year at 128, and I pulled a deadlift PR peak week. It's very much like,
Jesus Christ.
I tend to keep my strength, and that's, I think that's a key part of my training, and like our mentality in general around training is like, keeping that strength, and you don't have to lose your strength.
Right.
You don't. If you have to crash, okay, you're gonna lose your strength. You're gonna lose muscle too, but being able to maintain my strength, one, is so important to me, because I love being strong, and I do my best to not ego lift, but, like, I love a good lift. You know what I mean? Like, it feels so good.
There's a fine line between ego and testing limits, like, so you can test a limit without really pushing your ego. But yeah, we all have those moments where, like, all right, I'm going to try the 200-pound dumbbells.
Right. I'll be there one day.
Yeah. Right. But, like, so what I was getting at there is, like, you're 150 pounds, but I know guys who are 180 plus, like up to 200, who can't do half the stuff that you do with the form that you have. Like, those two things, like, don't tend to go hand in hand with most people. I'm excluding our, like, bodybuilding people, but with general population, most people are most men are not nearly as strong as you are, and just, how have you managed to get to that point? Like, what have you done to get there, and how have you molded your training to get yourself this strong?
That's a good question to really think about. So, starting off, I
said you should have prepared for this.
I should have. Starting out, so I ran track. Initially, I was at UNCG 4 track, and Bradley kind of was like, your genetics are freaky, like, fuck that. And there, I always, like, worked out a little bit, but I never pushed strength, you know what I mean? And, once I started, doing your 3 lifts, your bench, squat, deadlift, I just wanted more. I wanted more, And I progressed a lot because I just had some strength that I was never reaching.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really think correlates, and you see it so often in bodybuilding, is at least female track runners transitioning into bodybuilders.
Yeah.
You see it, one of like the main big ones, like Lauren Finley was D1 runner. And, you know, it correlates. And in my personal use of it is, you know, if you're running not so much like a 100-meter sprint, but once you go to from like a 2 to a 4,
Mm-hmm.
that last 100 to 50 meters is this like mental push that is unmatched.
Right.
It hurts so bad, you know what I mean? But you know, your goal is right there. You keep going, you don't stop. And I found my ability to really push my weights, push my reps, directly correlating to that same feeling. You know, like a lot of people, like powerlifting wise, I never trained like a powerlifter, but I'm strong, so I do my lifts. But you know, if I'm powerlifters, you know, all right, I'm gonna do X% for 3 reps. And, you know, in my mind, you know, I'm gonna work up and then do as many reps as I possibly can. And pushing that, okay, 3 reps was hard, 4 reps was fucking hard, 5 reps, hell. But it's in your head.
Yeah.
So if your form is good, you're not gonna get injured.
Right.
You shouldn't get injured, you know. If you're loose, you know, you shouldn't. But really just pushing my training like that has, I mean, my progressions are unreal because of that. You know, it's like not only physical strength, but it's mental strength.
Sure.
Which I think, you know, through running, I learned that at a young age, and then kind of just learned from it and pushed and pushed. I mean, I'm still pushing.
I mean, that mentality is the thing I think that separates people who are going to do well in bodybuilding and who aren't, regardless of like if you compete or not. Because I mean, you can still bodybuild without getting on a stage. You can still have the passion to do bodybuilding, and you can still do all the things, but not do the stage. I don't think it's really that important, especially these days with like Instagram, right? With all these other medias now, like, or mediums, it's a different world. But the people who are going to like stand out from the crowd and make that that wow transformation that people are going to be drawn to are the people with like the mental capacity to take themselves to that level. Like it's not necessarily like the person who's the strongest or the person who can do the most reps. It's the person who can put up with the most shit and keep going, you know, and not let it defeat them. So typically with females, I know you already know this is where this is going, but typically with females, they're told to, you want to keep your weights lighter, you want to stay higher reps, you want to make the muscle burn so you can get tone and fit. What do you think about that?
Well, I find that I'm over this phase of my life of this like anger that used to come to me when I heard the word tone.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
Like I spent probably like a year and a half, like anybody who would bring that up, I would take the time. Like I was just out of anger, not out of like wanting to educate. It was out of anger, just saying, you know, the muscle grows or atrophies. You put fat on, you take fat off. Where's tone? Where did you get the word? Just where did you get the word? And I hate it. I do. I hate it more than anything.
I get it. So like how do you get past that that mentality that most women have of like, let me just do light weights and stick to that, and I'll get to the physique that I want to. Like, how do you transition them away from that garbage that's been put out to real training?
It's kind of hard, and I mean, I live by a no bullshit approach. I just do, and some people can't deal with that,
Sure.
and that's fine. I'm probably not the person for them. But, a lot of it is just, being no bullshit of like, you won't accidentally run into too much muscle. You know what I mean? Because
That's a good way to put that.
you don't. I mean, they want to get toned. They don't want to put on too much muscle. They don't want to look too manly.
Right.
But, I run into a lot of criticism regarding being a woman and having muscle, blah, blah, blah. And, in their mind, like, oh, you look like a dude. But in my mind, I spend hours and hours and hours trying to put this muscle on. It's not an accident. I didn't wake up with this muscle, so you can't insult me. So it's more just like preaching that of, it's going to take you hard work. You're train with intent, eat with intent every single day to accidentally look like this.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, like, I mean, if you just do that, what if they do what they want to do? I'll explain, you're probably going to atrophy some muscle, not lose any body fat, and look like a little blob. And so, I'm just real, and I don't sugarcoat, because
right.
I don't want this expectation of, I need to do cardio. I need to do this. You don't want me to do 30 reps at 15 pounds. Like,
yeah.
No, so it's very much, in my opinion, in my way of approaching it, is just, being real of, you just won't. It's not even an option for you.
Sure.
As women, it's harder anyway to put on muscle.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where that idea of toning and using lightweight and going high rep is so ingrained in like female society these days that they almost need an example like you to break past that paradigm, and I think the other thing that people are missing here is they need to take their training and apply it to what their goals are, right? So your goal is you're a figure pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So your goal is to be a better figure pro, and that entails a certain look, right? But there's these other categories. There's bikini, there's wellness, there's figure, there's physique, there's all these other categories. And regardless of whichever category you find yourself fitting into based off of your body, your training can still be the same. You just need to be more focused on the shape and look that you're going after, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's something.
Go ahead.
That's something you run into often.
Mm-hmm.
With, I want to do a bikini competition.
Right.
And I want to, I did a bikini competition and I looked like crap. I need to improve.
Right.
And, how to improve in one off season, the improvements that a bikini competitor really needs to make from one show to another, assuming they take an off season, can be done in an off season.
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It might be 4 pounds of muscle they need to put on, right, and would show it really at any weight. 4 pounds of lean muscle will show. And it's just this concept of training like a bikini competitor. Mm-hmm. They need to pack some muscle on. They need to pack some muscle on their glutes, which takes intensity, takes intent. And, it's just a misconception. It's a huge misconception.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main issues in not only like NPC, OCB, IFBB, just in general, like this concept of like, you train like a bikini competitor, you train like a figure, like,
right.
I train like a men's bodybuilder ultimately. Like we all do. We're bodybuilders. We like,
Right, exactly. It's all the same thing, and that's why I wanted to bring that up, because like someone may look at you and they may watch this and they may hear the information you're putting out and they're like, okay, I want to see what this girl trains like. They go to your page and then they see your physique and they're like, oh, well, I don't want to look like that. I want to look like this girl over here, and this girl over here is doing the dumb kickbacks with the fucking band for 100 reps. When that's probably not how that girl got there in the first place. Like, that girl's not being honest about what actually got her to the physique she's at, unless it's just like genetics and she was born with a big ass. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like, regardless of whether you want to compete or you already compete and you're in a different category than Liv, you can still take the stuff that she's telling you and apply it to your training and make it fit your goals. The intensity always needs to be there with the training, or else you're going to just spin your wheels. But I think oftentimes intensity gets misconstrued as heavy, and then heavy gets misconstrued as low reps, right? And that I think people forget that. Me and Brad had this conversation where muscle building can really occur in any range of reps. So ideally anywhere from 6 up to like 20 to 25 you can do, and you can progress in any of those rep ranges. And by progressing in those different rep ranges, you can elicit a different look in your physique. So it's all a matter of taking the information and applying it to your specific like routine, you know?
Exactly.
Right. The other thing that gets brought up all the time, and something that I have said explicitly myself, is working with female competitors is a very challenging topic. Like, it's a very difficult thing because men, we bounce back just a little bit easier than women do after show. Like, our hormone levels, our weight, like all of that stuff seems to come back a lot easier than women's. Like, if our thyroid gets off a little bit, yeah, we might feel like shit for a little while, but it's going to come back. If our estrogen gets off a little bit, same thing. Testosterone, same thing. But at some point it's going to come back. But I know girls who have been dealing with thyroid issues, estrogen issues, testosterone issues, and they competed like 6 years ago, you know, like, because there's these coaches who are blindly throwing a low calorie diet at girls and giving them drugs and not understanding how the body reacts to those. You know, they're not planning ahead. So what do you think it takes? Like, what do girls need to know going into, like, I'm a girl, I'm coming to you, I'm saying, hey, I want to compete for the first time. What do they need to expect? And what should they look for in someone that is going to take them into that show?
So in my like real like honest opinion on like going into working with a coach, you know, unless that person is a genetic freak and is educated and took the time for an off season, no coach should really just be throwing somebody into a prep. You know, like, you could come to me right now. I don't know your physique. I don't know your body. I don't know what foods your body thrives on. And unless like that person is just so in tune with their body, I'm still not, then I shouldn't prep you.
Yeah.
You know, like, you should have a solid off season, a tracked solid off season where you've learned what foods your body thrives on, what gives you the biggest pump, where the blood flow, whatever, everything. You should work to push your calories as high as possible too, which is a big problem with girls in an off season. Because in that case, all right, I'm going to you for coaching, I'm just going to drop versus if you built your calories up first, you don't have to do that. And when you get to those low calorie diets and you didn't give yourself enough time to prep, you know, you just got to go lower and lower, more cardio. It is such a stress on your body. It's so hard to come back. And drugs wise, you know, I can name the drugs you should give a female on half of my hand.
Yeah.
And it's a big problem. I mean, there's dosing on those drugs, which is a big problem. And I mean, that's just sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
It really is. And people
that's
struggle.
anyone who's going to either like throw, like if we're saying there's 3 that girls can take and not have issues with, or not major issues, and this coach is throwing all of those plus others, and they're putting them at dosages that are definitely unsafe, it's because that person's a shitty coach, and they're relying on the effects. They're relying on the effects of the drugs to mask their bullshit coaching. So
Absolutely.
like that right there, that's definitely a big thing. But like minus drugs and all that stuff, what kind of stuff does it take for you to get into a prep and stay somewhat healthy and not like kill yourself after? Or what stuff do you do to mitigate those risks? Like how do you balance out your hormones and whatnot and end up fucked up after? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
So really keeping it so minimal is ideal. Mm-hmm. Along with attempting to keep the caloric deficit minimal. And then, I mean, after the show, a lot of people, let's say you're running X, Y, and Z, you have show day where you drop it, and then you don't level off.
Yeah.
You don't PCT. You're just like, okay, show day, like, boom, I'm done.
Right.
But like, you need to half your dose for 2 weeks, and then half your dose again for 2 weeks. First, I mean, when you deal with estrogen blockers, depending on which one you decide to take, you've been cut off from estrogen, and then it's just flooding your system. Right. So no, you need to slowly do that, because, when you mess up your estrogen post-show, you already are really struggling with food. Mm-hmm. And then your hormones are out of whack, and you're essentially replicating being pregnant.
Right.
I mean, it's not good. It's a recipe for a disaster.
Yep.
And it's just a lot of times, you're not educated to manage your supplements, right, manage your food, slowly come out. The show day, you drop your coach, you're not using a coach anymore. A lot of coaches don't require like rebound diet and whatnot. No one wants to pay after the show, so I mean, I think it's a conversation you should have with the coach prior.
Yeah.
Not just,
for sure,
I want to do a show.
Yeah. People definitely think very short term, and it's just like, I want to do this to get in the best shape I ever have. And I think that right there is a problem itself. Like there's a huge trend of both men and women. Like I see women doing this more often than men, but women will, especially in the Instagram age, will say on Instagram, I'm going to do a show. And the only reason they're trying to do it is because they're trying to get in the best shape they ever have. Right. I don't find that a good reason to do a show, because getting in show shape is not the same as getting healthy. And I think it's not the same. Right. And I think a lot of times the people who say that and say, I want to do a show to get in the best shape I ever have, now want to try and keep themselves to that point. So when they can't, and it's not sustainable, because let's be honest, that look is never sustainable for longer than a couple of days, like a week,
maybe a day and a half. Yeah.
Right. And they start to gain a little bit of weight back because they enjoyed some food, and they gain some water, and they bloat a little bit, and they're immediately like freaking out, and then it causes a disorder from there. So I definitely think that thinking ahead and trying to like plan out the whole thing and understand everything involved is definitely a key. And then the big thing that I took away from what you said is just moderation. Take a little bit longer with your prep. Take like you said, take an off season with your coach. Take a long time so your coach can really understand and establish themselves with you, and then give yourselves plenty of time going into the show so that you don't have to so aggressively cut, and you can slowly bring calories down and allow your body to like work its way down slowly until you have to really push, and then save that for the last like month and a half, you know, instead of murdering yourself for 10, 12 weeks and then coming out of it and rebounding awfully, you know. That's where people, I think, end up having problems, especially females, because men tend to handle the weight gain a lot better than women do.
Yeah, exactly.
The post-show weight gain is my favorite time ever, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to do it again.
I actually experienced after I got my card. No, not even so I got my card at Junior USA's, and 4 weeks earlier I won the North Carolina State.
Yep.
And I had no intentions of going to nationals, none. So I did exactly what we're speaking about. You know, I wasn't even with a coach, so it was even worse. And so post show, I would say in 7 days, I probably put on like 25 pounds. And it hurt. It just hurt, you know. And that was because not because I ate 25 pounds of food. That was just my hormones saying like, one, yes, exactly. And I looked like a balloon. I just looked just happy. Like my ankles were just like, like.
I remember that feeling well. I did that one time, and my ankles swole up so bad they were spilling out over my shoes, and I had to lay on the floor at work with my feet elevated. And I was like, this was such a bad decision.
It's horrible.
Just eating like an asshole. You get all that sodium, you get all that carbs, and your body's not used to really a lot of either one of them. And then that's what happens. You end up having edema and all sorts of bullshit. And your stomach. The worst part is your stomach feels awful for like the next week.
Yeah, and you look pregnant for about a week.
Oh yeah. So
another thing just on that same subject, as far as like recommendations for females going into it, is like have an idea of, you know, the show, have that goal.
Yeah.
But, you know, with the client that I prepped into a show last year, you know, we didn't sign up for that show until peak week, and you don't have to.
Right.
Because it just takes that stressor, because I mean your cortisol rises, everything, your whole body reverses, you know. So I always recommend, you know, have a general idea, but the NPC puts on shows every week. You know, like there'll be one a few weeks later if you can't make that one. Like there's no point of like rushing so hard into a show that it's detrimental. It's hurtful on your body.
Yeah, for sure. There was a point I was going to tell and I completely forgot it. So what's one, if a brand new girl who's seeing what you're doing and really enjoys it, but she doesn't know where to start, where would you tell a beginner to start with training? We'll just stick with training there. We won't go into nutrition as well. Not yet.
So like never step foot in the gym?
Like they've been training for a few years, but they're just kind of putzing around and that kind of thing. Like, but they're seeing what you're doing, they're seeing the progress you're making, and they now want to apply that to their goals and want to get serious with it.
So the first thing I tell people is really like, I express how cut back on volume that they're going to be, which is kind of weird in people's heads. And the emphasis that we put on recovery over training, really. I mean, and I start everyone out the same. You know, you're going to do 2 sets on each exercise, 4 to 5 exercises. But, you know, choose exercises that, you know, you're comfortable with.
Yep.
You know, if you're not comfortable with the dumbbells above your head, don't do them. Just don't. And that's what I kind of say, you know, what movements feel best, write them down. Do 1 set, lower reps, your back off set, higher reps, like 15 to 20.
Yep.
And write them down. Write every single thing you do in the gym down and just start progressing that. Because the mistake is people just walk in the gym and do whatever they feel like that day.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. Until I started writing my shit down, man, I can't believe how much I held myself back.
Yeah.
With just, I feel like shit today. I'm just gonna do this. I'll just work up to whatever I can.
Right.
Versus, now, I look in my log and I say, I have this. I did this last week. If I can't do one extra rep or add 2.5 pounds, I'm failing myself, one, or my nutrition's off.
Yep.
So different thing. But if you have a good coach, your nutrition shouldn't be off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just tell people, be in tune with that. Just start making notes, start pushing yourself. Also, for really new people, a log seems stupid, and I gave Brad shit for it forever until I came around. I did. And just the difference of, or on your phone. Forever, I used to tell girls to write their workout on their phone, screenshot it, put it as their background. So, because a lot of people with the intimidation issue, you look at your phone, you see exactly what you have next. You don't have to look around, do whatever, okay, I have this, put my phone down, let's do it.
Yep.
Versus what should I do? This, that, and the next thing, it just takes that guesswork. Just, do everything in advance so that when you're in the gym, everything you do is with intent. You know exactly what you're doing. You execute everything perfectly.
Right.
And then you go home and recover.
Right.
It's so much less than people think. It really is. And I absolutely used to overtrain and overdo everything and work out every day. And,
right.
And I can't, it's hard. It's almost hard to convince people that what we do works.
Right.
Which sucks. Yeah. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Even my own friends are in denial over it. And I'm just if I'm not living, breathing proof, then I don't know.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I mean, it's counterintuitive to most things in life where it's do more, get more, do more, get more, do more, get
Absolutely.
more. And that's not, to a certain extent, that is required with bodybuilding, but at a certain point, it becomes detrimental. So the work that you do has to then become intentional.
Exactly.
It has to become more focused. I definitely think when you're first starting out, you can get away with a lot more, because your body's just going to respond to whatever. And at that time, yeah, sure, probably doing more, you're going to get more at that time, when you're first starting out and you're first getting
new stimulus.
Right, exactly. But once you've gotten to a level like you or I, where we've been doing this for X number of years, you have to start looking at all the different variables and figuring out where you can change things. So it's not always necessarily do more volume to get more results. You could do less volume and do more intensity to get more results. There's a million different ways to skin the cat. So when you tell somebody you're going to do 2 sets, they're like, what the fuck does that mean? But they're not understanding what you're putting into those 2 sets,
Exactly.
So,
and that's right. That's what you got to teach. It's something you got to, take time to teach yourself and learn how to get your head there.
Right.
And one of my friends who I train with often, one of the girls who just really doesn't believe yet that what we're doing works. She was doing a set the other day, and I'm all about shut up during my set.
Oh yeah.
I don't have headphones, so I'm you can't talk. Let me just do it. And so I'm always like that. And all my sets I execute so well, and I'm good at it. I take pride in that, but it took practice. And she was doing a set the other day, and on rep maybe 9, it clicked. I saw it in her face, and it was reaching this mental capacity of you know, get your head out of it. Like, just go somewhere else, you know, because you are so much stronger than you think, especially on a machine movement. Like, there is so much more push. There really is. And it's like, I mean, to see that happen, I mean, it was like wonderful for me. It was so amazing. I mean, I love this shit, but it's just like, it just shows how much time it takes to teach yourself to go there. And
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I actually remember distinctly doing that when I was younger, and I was actually working with a personal trainer the first time I found that spot where I could go and just kind of shut everything off and just go through the motions. So that's definitely a learned skill, and it's something you have to find where it's just like, there's that next gear that you can always go to, you know. And it's funny, I've got a story. So you were talking about don't talk to me during my sets, and when I'm lifting, don't really talk to me. Like, you can push me, you can kind of yell a little bit, that'll get me hyped up, but like, don't be excessive with it. So I've been going to Metroflex Plano up here, and it's just like complete rust bucket. It's exactly what you would expect out of a Metroflex, but it's awesome. I fucking love it. But there was this dude in there, this little Asian dude. He wasn't wearing a shirt, and he was only wearing black compression shorts. And like, it wasn't leggings. It was the shorts, like the short ones. And it was like, okay, this is what's happening. And he was literally going up to everyone, like hitting them on the back, being like, hey, what's up, bro? And like, he came past me as I was starting exercise. Like, what's up, big man? Like, doing that. And then I see him yelling at some dude while he's doing deadlifts that he's never spoken to before. And I'm like, if you did that to me, I'm going to smack you. Like, stay the fuck over there and we'll be perfectly okay. Like, don't do that shit. It's way too much. Like, I think people watch those Ronnie Coleman videos and him yelling, and they think that they need to like yell and smack and do all that shit. It's like, don't touch me.
Yeah, I'm like a mental person. So, I mean, like, I get made fun of up the yin yang. I listen to like Ed Sheeran when I lift. It's like, so if my heart rate gets too high, I can't do it. All my PRs in 2019 were to Galway Girl by Ed Sheeran. Like, shout out to Ed Sheeran. But like, seriously, I can't, my head's got to be so right. And when I train people, I mean, I yell and I scream, but like, that's how they react. Like, they can feed off that. Like, I personally can't. So I can't imagine if that guy was anywhere near me. Just like, shut up.
Yeah, I'm very glad I was at the end of my workout and like I just could get it done and get out, because he was like, and he was doing like the weirdest shit on the like the whatever the pull-up rings are, you know, the ones hanging from the ceiling. He was just doing like flips and stuff, not even working out. He was like just there to yell at people. It was really weird in his fucking spandex shorts. It's very strange. But is there any other advice that you would give to girls who are looking to like get into bodybuilding or compete or just anything like that in general?
My one thing, like, especially now, as far as, well, kind of two things. As far as social media goes, because I mean, social media is fucking everything. One, coaches, you know, just because they have a lot of clients, huge team, this isn't a team sport, doesn't mean they're a good coach.
Sure.
Doesn't, I mean, I've seen firsthand like so many cookie cutter bullshit stuff, and you know, they promote, you have this awesome team to lift you up and encourage you, but they suck as a coach. They really do, and they're like millionaires off of it. It blows my fucking mind. So that's one thing I like, you know, client retention, like speak to clients who left that team. Sure. That's one thing like no one does. They just see this big team and, oh my God, ooh la la, I want to be part of it. I would recommend never doing that. One. To find somebody who left and talk to them, because there's probably a reason why they left.
Yep.
And then the second thing is also on social media when it comes to bodybuilding is, you know, go through the people you follow and get rid of the junk.
Yep.
Really. I mean, I used to follow like Big Butt Sally and Super Fit Lucy, and I mean, it's mentally draining. It really is. You know what I mean? Like, at some point you got to just say to yourself, like, okay, they look dope. I like, especially like, I'm proud of what I've built. I used to look at some females on Instagram and be like, man, fuck this. I just want to look like that. Like, and fuck that. You know what I mean? So, stick to your values and stick to what you want. Don't let yourself like look up to people who are so unrealistic.
Right.
Look up to people who you can build into.
Yeah.
Versus that girl was born with a skinny waist, big boobs. There's nothing you can do, and that's going to bring you down.
Right.
And I think that destroys people. I think
that's really
one of the main issues.
But see, and again, like going back to social media, like the stuff that actually works isn't pretty for social media. That's why you see all these people who, like, when they work out, it's all pump stuff. It's all mind muscle.
Yeah, go to the gym just to film for Instagram.
Oh yeah, people do it all the time. Come to Texas. I guarantee I will point them the fuck out. Like, like people will take the sad part is that like people like Hypertrophy Coach who are putting out like legitimate, real good information. He'll put out one of his finishing pump sets or whatever, and then people will take that and build an entire workout around it. Where it's like, no, moron, that's the end of it. He already did bench press. He already did dumbbell incline. Like, he did all the normal meat and potato shit before he did the cool stuff with the cable that looked cool on Instagram. Like,
exactly.
That's the thing that, like, everyone, not just females, men, women, whoever wants to work out, focus on your meat and potato stuff, get strong, and don't be afraid to test your limits. I think a lot of girls are really afraid to test themselves with this stuff. And it's like, we'll save the heavy stuff and the grunting and the hard training for the men, and we'll do our 15s with the 5-pound pink dumbbells, and spin our fucking wheels and do all the glute kickbacks in the world, and your butt never changes. Like that I think that right there, just because of what you said with those, like, the fluff Instagram people, is really what's still perpetuating this idea that women need to use light weights with whatever, you know what I'm saying? Going back to the toning shit again, like, it doesn't work. Squat, bench, rows, that shit is what works. Like, the heavy compound movements that have been around for years works. You can do the fluffy stuff, but do it at the end.
Exactly.
So yeah,
just women in general. I just like, I would love to see just like more badass fucking women lifting heavy fucking shit. Like, for sure. It's just sad.
I think the two things that we can kind of give as a final, like, send off or whatever to the girls out there that are listening to this is, one, don't be afraid to test your limits, and two, hire a coach who has a reputation for working with women and knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
It's not just bikini women. That's another thing.
Right.
Anybody. I respect all bodybuilding athletes. I really do. But it's a lot easier to just strip your body fat into a bikini competition than another division. It really is. And it's like, yes, they coach Miss Sally Lou with the big butt, but she's not you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, a lot of people go to these mass teams with all these girls, bikini girls, blah, blah, blah. But
sure,
it's the easiest to coach into a show.
Right.
Ultimately, usually.
Yeah. I don't, if y'all are listening to this, don't come to me, because I am not going to be the trainer for you. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not afraid to sit here and tell you I'm not comfortable taking you into a show. So 100% find a trainer who knows how to work with the female anatomy and the female hormones. Excuse me, sir. Marley. Thanks. He's been over here chewing on a bone the whole time, so now he's crushing water. But yeah, so find a coach who knows what they're doing and knows how to protect you. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is like, you need to make sure that you are still keeping your body in check enough to where you're not going to be ruined after one show. Like, you want to be able to do this for a long period of time. So find someone who can help you manage, regardless of being natural or not natural. Women still have a struggle with hormones. So you need to be able to find someone who, like, if you want to go natural, you need to be able to find someone who can help you with that and keep you on track. And if you want to go that enhanced side, you also need to find someone even smarter who knows how to use the proper drugs with the proper dosage and the proper timing. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. So do your research, and I would 100% say
Ask questions. Always ask questions.
right. I would say
If you can't
anyone
explain what they're doing, then don't use them.
right. Like, don't be so arrogant that you think that you know everything. Don't be afraid to hire a coach and get the knowledge and use it as a learning experience. Use it as like a class that you're paying for. Like, if you're going to school, if it's a legitimate coach who like has the real knowledge, I consider paying Chris Tuttle like a class. I'm learning more about nutrition because he's a registered dietitian. I paid John Jewett to build me a training program because the dude obviously knows what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to training. So like, vet these people, see what their background is, see the knowledge they have, and see what their book of business looks like, for sure. Let's plug your sponsors. Let's plug whoever you want. Jesus, my mouth said fuck you. Plug your pages, all that stuff, so people can find you afterwards. So Vital Proteins is the sponsor.
Yeah. Shout out to Vital Proteins. You rock. My Instagram is Liv Roth, I think. LIVROTHH.
Something like
I'm
that.
gonna double check that. But holler at me. And train hard, and don't be afraid to fuck some shit up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Liv, I appreciate you coming on. I'll definitely have you back on again. I want to have Brad on and everything again as well. Maybe we can get you guys both on at the same time and talk about relationships and bodybuilding.
Sounds good.
We'll get to it. But I appreciate you coming on. It was good talking to you and catching up again. I hope you guys keep kicking ass out there in Greensboro.
Do our best, and good luck with everything.
Thank
baby.
you. Yeah. We'll figure that one out when he gets here.
I'm excited.
See you later. Have a good one.